humble me. For I cannot promise these words will save one soul, convict one heart, provoke one mind to challenge the sign of the times above the slightest inquiry. We often question without asking. We make statements without saying anything. We pass along opinions without relaying anything. I'm just saying, maybe we should sit still and listen for God to explain more about our position as men, instead of complaining about not being the head, yet becoming more and more complacent with being the tail. Black men playing follow the leader right into jails, forcing our families to play hide and go seek our bail. See, we juggle responsibility, often dropping it. We play freeze tag with bullets that's often dropping us. We have so much potential, but confusion's always stopping us. Trying to build a tower of Babel that often topples on us. And we never pick up the pieces. We just leave them there. We never stop to help our fallen brethren. We just leave him there. Not good Samaritans, because even if we stop, all we do is stare and talk when there's work to be done. We disobediently walk when we've been instructed to run, but we run from the word, run from the truth, but there's dire consequences for those who do. And if you don't believe me, turn to Matthew 7:23. He said it plainly, I never knew you, depart from me, he who works iniquity. You should be on the right hand of me, but you left me, so you're on the left. And now you don't have a right into the inheritance in which I left. Came down, took 39 stripes for you to have the rights. Now all there's left for you to do is what's right, but you went left, and now you expect for God to give you what's left, right? Wrong. You can't play God. And I told you God doesn't play, but we're trying hard to add validity to what the enemy says. But God can reverse any word spoken over your life, like life you're over, spoken words, any reverse can God. And you know we're thinking backwards when we ask the question, can God? We need to reverse our thinking to God can do all things according to his perfect plan. See, this poem was originally supposed to make people feel good, but then God grabbed me by my collar and said, Chris, I wish you would stand up there and waste time not promised to you when there are things to be understood. Tell them to come taste and see that I am good. Tell the men that praising me doesn't revoke their manhood. Tell them I'm everlasting, non-perishable like canned goods, and even I outlast them. So here's a message from the everlasting. He said we've been pretending and playing roles for so long, it's time to stop acting. We were created in his image, got the same power we had back then. So with that said, men, this is a call to action. So who's with me? Who's with me? Amen. Amen. Amen.
Make no mistake about it, we are in a state of emergency. This is a Code Red. You're tuned in to the Word Network. We're live from Detroit, Michigan, and we're excited about what's getting ready to take place. I need you to do me a favor, partner with me. This is a night you've never seen before and a night you'll never forget. I need you to call everybody, text everybody, Twitter everybody, Instagram everybody. Tell them tonight the revolution will be televised, and it's televised on the Word Network. Pastor Bryant, why is it a state of emergency? In the last 2 weeks, 6 sisters have died in police custody. It's a state of emergency. Every 28 hours, a black man is killed by the police. It's a state of emergency. Last month, 47 black people were killed in Baltimore, 49 in Chicago. We've got to stop the violence and stop the madness. And you've tuned into the Word Network. Why? You're not going to be entertained tonight. You're going to be empowered tonight. Tonight we are taking America by storm, and we're believing that we're getting ready to rise up. This is that dream that what Marcus Garvey thought about is now getting ready to come to pass. This is a revolution that's getting ready to happen right before your very eyes. For the first time in Christian television, I am so honored, so excited to have the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan right in Detroit, Michigan, coming to you. Why is this happening? I want to remind you, for those of you who have a misplaced historical perspective, 1 week before Martin Luther King Jr. walked across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, Malcolm X went to go see him and was intending to go march with him across the bridge. But regrettably, before he could do so, he was assassinated. Today we are marching together, Christians and Muslims, understanding that God is getting ready to do something because we've got to change the tide of America. This is 20 years since the Million Man March. Never in the history of this country have 1 million people ever assembled for anything. And guess what? We're coming to do it again. But we're going to do it stronger and better. Why? Because it's not just men coming, but women are coming, children are coming, Latinos are coming, Asians are coming. The whole world wants to, in fact, see, will we rise up and realize injustice has got to come to an end? And it's coming to an end, and it's starting right here. I want you to know that not only is Minister Farrakhan coming, I'm so grateful for Brother Chris Jones, the poet you just heard from, came with me all the way from Baltimore. Young, gifted, and black, a super bad brother doing some incredible things. Coming all the way from Dallas, Texas, one of the preachingest preachers you've ever heard preach is Reverend Dr. Frederick Douglass Haynes III. Even if you died before he came on, St. Peter would send you back to earth and say, you can't even die yet till you hear Freddie Haynes. And then to show you the largesse of Minister Farrakhan is that for the very first time, we have a sister as a co-chair for 10-10-15. Sister Tamika Mallory, who is in fact helping us spearhead this initiative, is going to come on and talk about the dimensions and the dynamic of this march. I need you to do me a favor. Tell everybody in your house, let's come together, because the family has got to stand together. The family that prays together goes to war together, and this means war. Brother A.G. and the Empowerment Encounter Singers are going to lead us as we begin a revolution right here on the Word Network. Stay tuned and be blessed.
Come on, somebody, put those hands together. Got joy in my soul. God is in control. Satan's on my trail. Singing all is well. He's attacking every day. Watch while I pray. No matter the attack, I won't turn back. 'Cause this means have no fears in me. Say this means yeah, this means war. Oh, no, no. I say it again. Got joy in my soul. God is in control. Satan's on my trail.
the front line. The church is not on the sideline. The church is on the front line of what's taking place. We're in war all over this nation. There seems to be a war against our people. And so many people are asking, where is the church? And I want you to know the church is armed, ready, poised, and prepared. It doesn't matter whether or not you're in Ferguson with Pastor Carlton Lee or Pastor Renita Lampkin, whether or not you're in Cleveland, Ohio with Dr. R.A. Vernon, Pastor Jawanza, whether or not you're in Memphis with Stephen Brown or with Stacy Spencer or with Bishop Porter, or whether you're in Baltimore with Heber Brown and Reverend West. There are preachers who are standing and emerging. And one of the premier prominent voices who are practitioners of liberation theology is, in fact, one of the lead voices in this hour, Reverend Dr. Frederick Douglass Haynes III from Dallas, Texas, Friendship West Baptist Church. He is absolutely, in the words of Jeremiah Wright, unashamedly black and unapologetically Christian, and we're glad to welcome him for the first time on the Word Network. Help me welcome Reverend Dr. Freddie Haynes. Thank you, boss.
The incredible, phenomenal, and progressive leadership of the Reverend Dr. Jamal Bryant, and only Jamal Bryant could unite in a holy wedlock this night. That prophetic leader of our time, the incredible and wonderful Minister Louis Farrakhan, Tamika Mallory. I mean, this is phenomenal, and it says a lot about the Word Network and Dr. Jamal Bryant. This means war. Today I want to talk about stand your ground. That's our message for this time. Stand your ground. There's a wonderful verse in the 20th chapter of the book of 2 Chronicles, verse 17. In the middle it says, take up your position, stand firm, and watch the deliverance the Lord will bring your way. I like that. Stand your ground. Today we stand here standing our ground because we all know the Confederate flag is down, but the fight continues. The Confederate flag is down, and it should be down. The fight continues. I believe it was Martin King who declared that unearned suffering is redemptive. Of course, he was prophetically piggybacking on the wonderful genius of Scripture, which says that without the shedding of blood, there is no remission of sin. Innocent blood was shed there in Charleston, South Carolina, and the remission of sin took place in that the flag came down. The flag, which was a slap in the face to African Americans, the flag which in 1961 went up in South Carolina in order to stand against the progress of the prophetic civil rights movement. The flag went up, but the flag has come down. But understand, even though the flag has come down, the fight continues. The fight continues because even after the flag has come down, we understand that Sandy Bland died right there in Texas. And no matter what you say about how she died, the bottom line is she never should have been arrested in the first place. The flag is down, but the fight continues. The fight continues because the sad reality is there is an attack on black bodies in these yet to be United States of America. The flag is down, but the fight continues because our children are going to schools, but they're not getting educated. The flag is down, but the fight continues because of economic disparity as greed on Wall Street exploits need on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. The flag is down, but the fight continues because in a real sense our streets are running red with the blood of black bodies. The flag is down, but the fight continues. And of course I could not help but homiletically hop into that amazing text where Jehoshaphat gets word that the nation of Judah is under attack. They're under attack because a coalition of hateration has come together to attack Jehoshaphat and Judah. Is there not a coalition of hateration attacking justice and black bodies in the United States of America? You see that coalition filling up our prison system with brown and black bodies. You see that coalition manifest in a school system that is miseducating our children and setting them up for a pipeline to the prison industrial complex. There is a coalition of hateration, but here's what will blow your mind. This took place right after, don't miss this, Jehoshaphat had torn down the idols there in Judah. He had taken down the idols. I think the Confederate flag is an idol that has come down in this country. Jehoshaphat tore the idols down, and then he put in place persons in position, recognizing that politics is local, and he charged those judges to engage in justice because there's a need for justice. Justice or else. I like that, Minister Farrakhan. Justice or else, because what is justice? Justice is equality of opportunity for all, so that we level the playing field that has been tilted to the disadvantage of those who were disadvantaged. Justice or else. Jehoshaphat says you are to engage in justice. What is justice? Justice in a real sense, Michael Dyson says, is what love looks like when it speaks in public. I like that. Justice is me wanting for your group what my group always enjoys. What is justice? Justice is saying that all of us should have equality of opportunity, and that's what my man Jehoshaphat has established. But now here comes the coalition of hateration. They're out to get him. The nation is under attack. He must feel, I guess, like Grandmaster Flash in the Furious Five. It's like a jungle. Sometimes it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. And then he says, don't push me because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. He is being pushed close to the edge, but what does the king do? He calls for a millions more movement to gather there in the capital. And when they gather, I love it, the Bible says they pray to Almighty God. Look what Jehoshaphat does. He prays to God, and then they stand there and wait to hear from God. They're in the nation's capital, but now they have to hear from God, and God sends a word through a prophet. The prophet stands up, and the prophet says in the Freddie Haynes remix, take a chill pill, because God has got this. You stand still and see what God is going to do. It's about to go down like 4 flat tires, but you've got to stand still and see what God is about to do. God is about to turn this upside down. I love what happened because Jehoshaphat gets this word from the prophet Jehaziel. Number one, if you want to win, you got to be right within. Y'all know I'm borrowing that from a girl, Lauryn Hill. Lauryn Hill said, Pastor Holly, how you gonna win if you ain't right within? And so that's why the prophet says, don't be scared and don't be discouraged. That's the Freddie Haynes remix. Don't be afraid, because if you are not together on the inside, you can't handle the enemy on the outside. Notice I'm not talking about the politics of respectability where you have to earn justice. No, I'm talking about making sure that we stand in courage, that we stand, my brothers and sisters, understanding that we are not discouraged, we are not afraid, because courage, Karl Barth said, is fear that has said its prayers. And when we say our prayers and take a stand for justice, you see, it takes courage to stand against the system. It takes courage to speak truth to power. It takes courage to recognize that everything legal ain't necessarily just, but all when you have the power of God. You ain't got to have position to have power. I've discovered you've had folk with position, but God gave someone else the power because they were anointed by the power of God. May I bless you right quick? Y'all do know that I believe it was Frederick Douglass had the power, even though Abraham Lincoln had position. Woodrow Wilson had position, but Ida B. Wells, my girl, she had the power. Y'all do recognize that even though John Kennedy was president in position, it was Martin King and Malcolm X and Annie Lou Hamer that had the show enough power. Y'all still not getting this. Y'all do know in 1996, Bill Clinton was in position, but Minister Farrakhan had the power to bring 1 million black men to Washington Washington, D.C. Y'all still not shouting. I'll give it to you like this. Pharaoh had position, but Moses had the power. Saul had position, but David had the power. I got one more for you. Pilate had position, but Jesus said, don't nobody take my life. I lay it down, and if I lay it down, I'll pick it back up again. If you've got power on the inside, you can handle what comes at you on the outside. But then he says our victory is in our strategy. Here's what you do. Get in position and stand and watch what God is going to do, because the battle ain't yours. The battle is the Lord's. And that's what we're going to Washington, D.C. to say. The battle is not yours. The battle is the Lord's. I'll give you the Freddie Haynes remix. God is saying, if you do what you can, I'll handle what you can't, because I got your back. And so when we go to Washington to say justice or else, we know that God has got our back. And y'all know what happened later on in the text. The Bible says that they assembled a praise team, and the praise team was on the front lines, and they began to praise Almighty God. And then God went to work on their behalf, and the book lets us know they got the victory because they stood their ground. And that's what we're going to do in Washington, D.C. We're going to stand our ground until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness as an ever-flowing stream. We're going to stand our ground because God is our Father. We're going to stand our ground because we're going to do what we can, and God is going to handle what we can't. I close with this. Harriet Tubman was amazing. I love Harriet Tubman. Harriet spoke to me from eternity as Harriet shared, and here's your shout right here, that she freed hundreds of slaves. She could have freed more if they had known they were slaves. But y'all know that Harriet exited slavery and then went back to retrieve those who were still enslaved. Ain't that hot right there? She said, it's not enough for me to be free. I've got to reach back and help others who are not free. And so Harriet went back to retrieve others, and when she went back several times. And there's debates now among scholars. Did she go back 19 times or 12 times? I don't care how many times she went back. The girl went back. And maybe that's what black folk need to do in 2015. We need to go back to the hood and tell our young brothers and sisters that there is a reality in serving God. We got to go back to our schools and show our young men a future that they can have for themselves. We've got to go back. It's not enough to be free ourselves. We've got to have the courage to go back. So Harriet went back, but here's what got me. Harriet never lost a passenger on the Underground Railroad. You didn't shout. Harriet not only never lost a passenger on the Underground Railroad, homegirl never got caught. She served as a spy during the Civil War, but she never got caught. You're still not shouting. You must have forgotten that Harriet suffered because she did not have access to health care. Harriet, watch this, suffered from passing out periodically, because you recall that while she was enslaved, she got between the overseer and a runaway. The overseer threw a piece of iron in the direction of the runaway. It hit her in the head, gashed her in the forehead. She passed out. For the rest of her life, she was subjected to blackouts. You never knew when she would black out. There's one picture in a biography of her blacking out. Don't miss this, as she is leading ex-slaves to freedom. And there's a sign above her that says, wanted dead or alive, a woman called Moses. But y'all know what? She never got caught, even though she would pass out and then she would get back up and lead them to freedom. And Harriet never got caught during the Civil War. She would pass out and then wake up and lead them on to freedom. And I had a talk with Harriet Tubman. I said, Harriet, you got to tell me, homegirl, how is it that you never got caught? How is it that you never lost a passenger? We're trying to lead a movement of justice or else, and we need to know how you did what you did, because we're trying to go back to our communities and bring hope to the hood. We're trying to go back to our schools and educate our children. We're trying to go back to our communities and bring about economic empowerment. We're trying to go back, Harriet. How did you do it and never get caught? And Harriet said, well, yes, you got that right, Freddie. I did pass out. But the good news is, as long as I was conscious, I was working for God. Knowing when I was unconscious, God was working for me. I'm out of here. But that's my word to each and every one of us. As long as you're conscious, work for God. Let your light shine before men and women, that they may see your good works and glorify our God who art in heaven. As long as you are conscious, work for God and be the salt of the earth. As long as you are conscious, do what you can to lift up those who are down. As long as you are conscious, make this world a better place. As long as you are conscious, say, if I can help somebody as I pass along, if I can cheer somebody with the word or song, if I can show somebody he's traveling wrong, then my living will not be in vain. As long as you are conscious, do something good for somebody else, because, baby Baba, when you're not conscious, God will go to work on your behalf. And when God goes to work on your behalf, God will make a way out of no way. When God goes to work on your behalf, God will raise up those who've been knocked down. When God goes to work on your behalf, you can testify, mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Glory, hallelujah. Glory, hallelujah. Glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. Now go ahead to D.C. and let's stand our ground.
Only one Freddie Haynes. You got your marching orders. As long as you're conscious, you got to be working for God. When you're unconscious, God is working for you. There is somebody you know who has lost their consciousness. I need you to get them to the Word Network tonight. We getting ready to resuscitate them. The defibrillator is on. We getting ready to put energy back into them. A sleeping giant is getting ready to awaken. Please text, tweet, Instagram, everybody. Let them know tonight is going to be a remarkable night. I'm excited about it. If you were blessed by Pastor Freddie Haynes, would you give God some praise even now? There are no greater creative people on the planet than black people. I mean, everything that is original and innovative comes out of our prowess. And we want to continue in that legacy of celebrating creativity all the way from New Jersey. My dear brother, Brother Haas, we are one, and tonight we are that.
One. Yeah. How many people know we serve one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, that's above all, through all, and in all? Amen. Let me see everybody put their ones in the air. Yeah. One. Listen. Jesus is saying, ready or not, here I come, and you can't hide. Yeah. Listen. One world, one life, one girl, then one wife, one chance, one heart, one dance, one spark, one need, one yes, one ring, one flesh, one vision, one look, one sound, one hook, one stage, one mic, one crowd, one light, one block, one car, one shot, one scar, one battle, one fight, one day, one night. Will you be the O-N-E? He choose one game, one sport, one name, one thought, one book, one God, one spirit, son died, one truth, one faith, one trip, one ride, one choice, one test, one stage, one left, one heaven, one hell, one prayer, one yell, one time, one source, one Lord, one cross, one body, one soul, one mission, one goal. Will you be the O-N-E he used? One Adam, one Eve, one fruit, one tree, one fall, one blame, one judge, one king, one woman, one man, one purpose, one plan, one dream, one wish, 5 loaves, one fish, one delivered, one bound, one lost, one found, one blind, one see, one step of faith, one seed, one Peter, one John, one David, one Psalms. Will you be the O-N-E-E-U? One Paul, one James, one dollar but no change, one song, one verse, one gift, one curse, one me, one you, a microphone check, one tool, one religion, one church, one decision, one earth, one heaven, one sin. A lot of people lose, we win. One hymn, one free, Philippians 4:1-3. One family, one place, one color, one race, one movement, one stand, and that's justice for every black man. Make some noise for Jesus.
That one. We're one tonight. Nothing is going to separate us. Nothing is going to tear us apart. Lift up that one. We are one. That's what we're going to D.C. 10-10-15 with one mind. It was Marcus Garvey, one people and one destiny. Everybody shout one. I want you to call one person. One. I want you to call one person, and then I want you to text one person. And then I want you to tell one person. Mr. Louis Farrakhan is getting ready to join us in just one moment. And I'm so thankful. So thankful. Whatever you do, please don't leave from outside of that television, that smartphone. I want to give a major shout out. We've got people watching in the UK and in Africa, in the Caribbean. No matter where you are in the world, we are one. Let's give God a major praise for whoever they are, wherever they are, that tonight we're one. I'm excited that 20 years ago, there was a call to Washington, D.C. for 1 million men to take responsibility of their lives, their family, and their future. 20 years later, we realize that we can't do it by ourselves. It just ain't gonna work till the sisters show up. And I'm believing and I'm excited that when it is that we come together with one family, with one vision, we're gonna change America. And I'm believing it's going to happen fast. One of the directions that help us to get there is knowing that when Minister Farrakhan speaks, it is not symbolic, it is substantive. And so in calling for our sisters, he called for a major, strong sister who's in fact dedicated her life to the improvement and for the advancement of our people. Just recently, she was seen all over the news globally. She's a part of an organization called the Justice League of New York. And this group of young people marched from New York all the way to Washington, D.C. To say that the government has got to get involved, something has got to change, and here is a generation that refuses to be turned around. She is the helpful person who is in fact working with us, our co-convener, co-director for 10-10-15. Would you help me warmly welcome a super bad sister, my sister, Tamika Mallory. Come on, give a big hand for her even now. Tamika, I'm glad that you're running with me, and I'm glad that we're running together. You called me last week almost in tears, hyperventilating. I'm thinking something happened to your son. But you called me really frustrated because of what you're seeing happen to our sisters, saying, Jamal, I don't care what it is, but we got to do something. I said, we got this march that we're working on for 10-10-15. She said, I can't wait that long. We got to do something now. So today, you and I and a group came into Washington, D.C. today to go outside of the Justice Department to demand that Loretta Lynch will, in fact, take over the investigation of Sandra Bland. And because of your compassion for sisters and the affliction that's taking place, what is at stake for our sisters in this hour?
I think, first of all, I was crying when I called you, and I'm happy to be walking with you in this because our brothers are equally important. We must do it together. And for me, I am Sandra Bland. I could have been driving on that road. My mother could have been out there, my sister, and anyone else. And Sandra Bland was just someone driving down a street who should not have been targeted and certainly should not have ended up dead. And I heard my brother Freddie Haynes say, it doesn't matter what you think about how she died. The fact that she was in jail at all is where the blood is on the hands of the sheriff department inside of Waller, Texas. And it has happened again and again. And we know that since Sandra Bland, there have been 5 other women to die in the hands of police custody. That's an issue. When our women start to be attacked, we have to look at the vulnerability of that. What does it mean? They've already been killing our brothers, and now they're killing the sisters. So I understand that we can't sit by and watch this happen. And when 10-10-15 coming up, Sandra Bland and the women become the basis. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan talks all the time about the nation not being able to rise any higher than its women. And for that, we understand that that must be the anchor of what we do for 10-10-15.
Tell me, as we're moving closer to October, what is your vision of the role that sisters are going to play in this hour?
Well, first of all, sisters are leading movements all over this country. We know Black Lives Matter, Carmen Perez leading the Justice League NYC. There are sisters everywhere across this country leading. So I know we're going to turn out in mass numbers. It is our time to come forward and talk about the abuse that we have been suffering for many years that has gone unnoticed. Right. We've stood behind the brothers. We've been abused, we've been beaten, but we've also been the backbone. And it is our time now for the brothers to stand and lift our names.
Absolutely. The Justice League has really been emerging, and it's a reflection of this new paradigm of leadership that's taking place. We're now 1 year since the killing of Michael Brown, and we're having to recalibrate to say, where are we a year later? Both you and I came up through the ranks, you and National Action Network, me and the NAACP, and crossed each other, growing through that, our own bro mitzvah, as it were, trying to cut our teeth. What is it for the millennials? When in reality, Tamika, this generation has not seen victory. When they were 15, they saw Trayvon Martin get killed and nobody go to jail. When they turned 16, they see Michael Brown and nobody go to jail. They watched on television Eric Gardner get killed and nobody go to jail. They turned the channel and watched Freddie Gray and nobody go to jail. So what do we say to this generation who's not seen victory? And we hear people say, oh, be patient, it's going to get better. What do we speak to this hour and to this generation?
And, you know, speaking of that generation, I have a 16-year-old son who I am also cultivating to be a part of the movement. But we're not just seeing people being killed by police. We're seeing people in our communities being killed by one another. Yes. And so the millennials have a responsibility, particularly as we become the young professionals that think because we drive Mercedes-Benz and we moved out of the neighborhood, it's not our issue. Well, tell Sandra Bland about that as she was on her way to her new job.
Wow.
We as millennials have a responsibility to be at the forefront of this movement because the people that you've named have been the ages of folks who are on the ground right now, not people who are necessarily older than us. Folks who are older than us have done the work already. It's our opportunity to step up to the plate and not just tweet about it, not just talk about it, but actually take it to the street and handle it.
What is the responsibility that some of the most influential people now, embarrassingly, are not the clergy, but are entertainers? What is the responsibility of the rappers and the athletes who have the ear, the eyes, and the attention of this generation? Do they have the luxury of saying, that's not my fight, or that may cost me a sponsorship?
Well, they certainly don't, and I believe that the relationship between Minister Farrakhan and Reverend Willie Wilson out of D.C. is what we need at this moment to come together with the church and the mosque in every community and turn out. I grew up in a church. But every Sunday, my parents would make a decision of whether or not we were going to Mosque number 7 in Harlem or if we were going to the church, because we are under one. That brother that just said that, did the great song, that's what it's all about. It's one church, one house, one love, and it's one fight because we're all dying. They're not checking to find out whether or not you're a pastor when they're stopping you on the street.
Absolutely. As we move forward, how can people start to organize in their local church? Colleges are getting ready to reconvene in the next couple of weeks. How can they get involved? How can we start to mobilize? They're watching us on television, on the internet, and are fired up, ready to go. How can we become a part of what you're talking about?
We need people to go to justiceorelse.com, justiceorelse.com, where you can get all the information that you need to sign up and to organize from your local city and bring your issue to the forefront. As you said, 20 years ago, it was men that convened in Washington. Today, Minister Farrakhan is calling on all people who have been oppressed, all people who are feeling the oppression in this country. And if you care about the oppressed, you can join us in Washington, D.C. on 10/10/15. So justiceorelse.com.
I want you, if you can, to give an appeal for young people who in many ways may have become cynical. It's just going to be like every other march. I'm not going to be a part of it. Would you give an appeal to young people, 19-year-old, 17-year-old, 23-year-old, who are angry, frustrated, but are not necessarily engaged? Would you tell them, why is this so needed, so necessary?
Well, you don't have a choice. The bottom line is that you could be next. And if you don't raise your voice at this moment, you can't cry about it after the fact, when you are the one that is sitting in the prison cell being arrested for the same crime that a white person committed, and they are not going to jail, but you are. So at 16 and 17, you know how to learn about what Drake and Meek Mills are talking about. You know how to figure out what's going on Love and Hip Hop. You better figure out what's going on in this movement before you're next.
Absolutely. Would you help me celebrate this super bad sister, Tamika Mallory? She's going to help lead us to 10/10/15. I want you to do me a favor. Every person who's watching, pay attention. I want to share with you a video presentation that's going to get us ready. The minister is coming up next.
All of the nations of the earth as we speak are angry. They're angry because governments cannot suffice the needs of their people. They're angry because a few have gotten wealthy at the expense of the many, and the poor and the sick and the weak and the unlearned multiply. And the value of their lives are diminished by the rich and the powerful, so that when human life is devalued, that in the eyes of man you are unworthy of the gift of life, then it is easy for another human being to take the life of another human being that he or she has devalued. Black life in America is devalued. Hispanic life is devalued. Even poor white life is devalued. There's a way that I have to behave. I'm free, but I'm not free to rob you of yours. I'm not free to take from you what does not belong to me. So if I will construct my life according to these righteous principles, then between man and man, man and woman, peace. Between race and race, peace. Between rich and poor, peace. We have our beautiful Mexican family. This once was theirs. So you can't say to them they are aliens. That's a horrible word to use for former owners. I see my indigenous family here. Many tribes, but they're really one great nation of people that now must be reunited with themselves. So it's their time now. as well as ours, that God would intervene in our affairs and bring the bottom rail to the top. The government is not rehabilitating soldiers. When they send you away to kill. When you come home, they gotta reconstitute you for civilian life again. Make sure you have a job so you can take care of your family, but they're not doing it. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, a woman can do anything that a man does, and the only thing he forbids the woman to do is the thing that degrades her. So how high can you go? High as you want to. Why would God allow the female to wear his attributes if you can't be a manifestation of that attribute? Women, you got to be set free. What God has put within you must be cultivated, must be developed, and must be used for the advancement of a nation and a world. I said to myself, Mr. President, why the hell don't you go to the wicked police department? Why the hell don't you stand up and tell them that your killing of black youth and brown youth is not gonna hold no more? Why don't you stand up? God's world is in need of a truth that will set up a government where everybody can live in peace under real freedom, real justice, and real equality.
We welcome to the Word Network and to the entire world the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We're honored to have you, sir. Thank you. I'm so appreciative to be able to mark in history that I lived in the same chasm of time of one of the greatest leaders of our people. Never in the history of this nation have 1 million people ever gathered except at your call. I'm appreciative that God preserved your life over these 20 years so another generation will be able to, in fact, have the reverberations of greatness. I'm thankful that he sustained your health and has kept you strong for such an hour as this. 20 years later, I never thought we would have to go back, and now we're right here. Why do you think 20 years later it is needed and necessary for us to go back to the nation's capital?
We are over 50 years from the march over the Edmund Pettus Bridge. We're over 50 years from the first March on Washington. We are nearly 50 years from the murder of Malcolm X and the assassination of Dr. King, and nothing has changed. We have loved our enemies, and we have given all that we have for this nation. We built the country. Our sweat and our blood, our tears, our slave labor made America rich and powerful. Why should we go back? I want to thank you so much, Reverend Bryant, because Dr. Freddie Hayes, oh, he was so wonderful. The brother that spoke the word when we opened the show, and the brother that said, "We are one," and the great choir that sang, and Tamika Mallory who spoke. Why must we go back? Because what we went for before has not been realized. The flag of the Confederate forces and army and part of the nation was taken down. That is symbol. It's easier to take down a symbol than to remove the substance that that symbol represents. I have always been taught by my leader and my mother to stand in respect of the American flag. Whenever the flag is produced, I stand at attention out of respect for that flag, because it is the flag of a free and sovereign people that we helped to make free and sovereign, yet we are not free. Wow. And we don't have America as really ours. So all the hell that we are catching for the last 150 years is under not the Confederate flag. But under the American flag. We're going back to Washington because the capital of the country represents the tyranny under which we live. That flag flies over the Congress. Laws have been passed, the 13th, the 14th, the 15th Amendment, but none of them have been enforced. People died for us to have the right to vote. And they passed the voting rights bill only a few years ago to have the Supreme Court gut the enforcement of that bill, the protection of our right to vote. The flag flies over the state capitals where we don't get justice. The flag of America flies over redlining, over police brutality and mob attacks. The flag of America flies over the Supreme Court where we can't get justice. The flag of America flies. So my question tonight is, how can we continue to support a flag and a country that does not support our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? We must go back, but we must go back with a determined idea. It is justice, or else what? We'll get to that.
Minister, there are 17 declared Republican candidates who all 17 claim that they are prepared to lead the nation, and in a few days are going to have their first debate. If in fact you were the moderator of that debate, what would you say or ask of those 17?
Oh, Jamal. None of those 17 speak for the American people. They are like, oh God, I don't want to use a cheap phrase. But you know, in the major cities of America, you find beautiful girls dressed to attract, men to lust and take pleasure on their pain. America is seeing our children trafficked, babies trafficked. And if a nation cannot protect its young and protect its elderly. Well, why did I use that picture? Because the candidates are like undressed women. Who are looking for people with money to back them when they know most of them are bought and paid for. Wow. You buy a president, then you expect that president to do your bidding. That's why Trump is listened to, because he's not a whore. He got money, so the whore masters can't buy him. The king makers can't make him. So that's why the American people are listening to him, because for the first time, you got a man who can pay his own way. He's a businessman. Not that I would vote for him. Because I'm looking to see, what are you gonna do, Mr. Trump, for justice for the black man? Our cry is worse than any other who is deprived. We've been here longer than any immigrant. And we didn't come here looking for something as the immigrants did. We were brought here in the holds of ships. We didn't come on the Nina, the Pinta, or the Santa Maria. We came to be made slaves and burden bearers of the citizens of this nation. So if I were the moderator, I'd tell him go home. If I were the moderator, not one of you would get my vote, but it's the same on the other side.
Yes.
What? Oh, yes. We got to look at this horse and pony show. On the Democratic side, and most of you are Democrats, and most of you are slaves. Most of you are Democrats, but most of you are deprived. Most of you are Democrats, but it is under Democratic leadership that we have suffered. You owe us something, America. So no campaign speech is going to get our vote this year. No campaign speech. I've heard Miss Clinton say that all lives matter. But Miss Clinton, and to all the candidates, if black lives don't matter, no life matters, because all life came from the black man and woman. You have your existence because of us. So black lives must matter if your life is to matter. So this is an interesting time.
Yes.
When we go back to Washington, my dear and beloved brother, companion and friend in struggle, we can't go back weak. It's come to the point of explosion now. The statistics that you laid out and the words that Sister Tamika said, we're killing each other. Not because we just want to kill. We are socially engineered into the behavior of a savage. Socially engineered. When I was a young boy, the family was together, male and female. The man of the house would go out in the morning with his lunch pail, and the mother would stay home and rear the children. And we went to church on Sunday, and we went to school on Monday, but church and school and home worked together. And even though there was segregation, there was evil and injustice, yet we, at that time, had a community in which there was love and care. That's gone now.
Yeah.
Our young people don't want to go to church. Our young people don't care about school because the meal that they're being fed and overfed is a doctrine of white supremacy, masked in history, masked in geography, masked in science, masked in mathematics, because none of them want to deal with what the black man gave to the onward march of civilization. So if I don't see myself in the picture, why am I interested?
Absolutely.
If we are not in the schools, in the process of education, if nothing is being said to show us what we contributed to this that is called America, not only from the slave plantations, but we gave science and mathematics to the world. We gave architecture to the world. Why don't our children know this? So, my brother, we need a new educational paradigm. It's not going to come from white supremacy. So here we are now. Jobs gone, factories closed, jobs warehoused to cheap labor markets. And then we are left in the lurch. When I was young, in every city, if you didn't go to college, there was a vocational school where women were taught the art and the science of homemaking. And men could get a trade where if they didn't go to college, they could work with their trade, make not the best of living, but a decent living where they didn't have to deal with crime and violence. But when the jobs were gone, the factories are closed, the home is broken down because now the men had to leave because our women are on aid to dependent children and they couldn't be in the house, so they vacated and snuck back at night, but the family was broken. Then the war came and women were taken out of the kitchen and out of the home and put in factories so that somebody else cooked food for us, because our mothers were in the factories. So we went to markets and Sally, somebody gave us food. Somebody did the dinner. Somebody did the dessert. Somebody made money off of us. But mama, grandmama who cooked for us, grandmama who shopped, grandmama, when we were coming home, we could smell the rolls that she was cooking in the oven. But today, it's cold. We used to be nursed from our mother's breast, where we bonded with mom. We bonded with something human that gave us a sense of our humanity, bonding with humanity. But today, mama is gone, children warehouse, so I'm bonded to a plastic bottle. I'm in a crib and you give me things to play with when I'm a human being and I'm not nurtured in a human way. So our children are growing up cold and heartless, socially engineered, and then drugs comes in. We don't make the drugs. Guns come in. We don't manufacture the guns. You've got satellites above our head that could spot a grapefruit on the ground and tell you where it came from. You can't find the drug pushers that are bringing it in. And the drug pusher, Brother Jamal, was our government. The government that flies the American flag over it. You are the traitor. You are the one that have betrayed that flag, betrayed life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, betrayed the Constitution. You are unworthy, and many of you should be brought to court and charged with crimes against humanity for the evil that you have done.
No, that's great. I saw today, as we're mindful of 5 sisters, minister, who died in police custody in 3 weeks. But the news cycle is focused more on a lion dying in Africa. And I find the irony that they will, in fact, pause and find the importance of an animal dying out of Africa, but not the sister lionesses who have died coming out of Africa. If we believe that Black Lives Matter, why is it that we only march, only get enraged when it's a white officer holding the gun? But when it is that we see death amongst ourselves, we have in fact become desensitized to it and don't mobilize around it. Maybe, Minister, I want to ask you a question. Is it that America don't believe Black Lives Matter because we don't act like it does?
I think that's a part of the problem, because you can't ask somebody to treat you better than you are willing to treat yourself. And I like what you said, Pastor Jamal, because Cecil, I think, is the name of the lion.
Yeah.
Cecil got shot because somebody wanted a trophy of a great, powerful lion. Now they're looking for Cecil. And they're looking for the one that shot Cecil. The dentist has closed the shop. He's in hiding. Darren Wilson is walking. Wow. The killer of Trayvon Martin is walking. The killer of Oscar Grant is walking. But the doctor is in hiding over a dead lion. We have to answer for our weakness and our cowardice in the face of tyranny. And I'm saying this, Brother Jamal, and I pray that God will guide my words and guide my heart. But beloved brother and my dear brothers and sisters, sometimes, as Dr. King said, there are things worth dying for. And Dr. King said, if there's something in your life that's not worth dying for, then what are you living for? My little sister, 14 years old or 12 in Texas with a bikini, and the police knocked her to the ground, put their knee in her neck and in her back, was ready to shoot a young brother who wanted to step in. He should have stepped in. I don't want to be misunderstood, but if we won't fight to protect our women, we're not worthy of her or of the children that she produces for us. Our role as men is maintainers of our women, providers for our women and children, protectors of our family. Elijah Muhammad said, the woman is the earth out of which you produce your crop. What farmer would put a seed in the ground and not make a move to protect the crop that's coming? You kill the bugs, you kill the enemy that will eat your fruit or your tree or your crop. You kill the animal that will kill your herd. But you say, I forgive for the killer of our women and children. I think we need serious reconstruction of our thought processes. And I want to say to pastors, you must man up and stop preaching a doctrine that makes you a better slave.
Wow.
Stop it. And don't put your power, your cowardice on Jesus Christ. You misunderstand him totally. I was with Martin Luther King III the other day, and we were talking about the violence in our community. And you're right, Brother Jamal. We don't stand up when we kill each other. We go and rush because the white man has been killing us ever since our fathers set the soles of their feet in the Western Hemisphere. He's been doing it for 460 years now. So you can't say, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. They didn't just do it since we've been here. They did it all over the earth. The book of Revelations calls them blood shedders who have shed the blood of every creature. That's why Cecil is dead. That's why the animals can't live, because we want to kill and kill and kill and put trophies on the wall. That's why when they burned us at the stake, they would cut off our ears and cut off our private parts and make them trophies. This is why John the Revelator refused to call the rulers of this world human beings. John the Revelator called them beasts. And we had the mark of the beast in our forehead and in our hands. Look at what our hands are doing. Look at what our minds are thinking. Don't you tell anybody that you're a Christian and you're not Christ-like. We can't tell anybody we're Muslims if we're not in submission to the will of God. So my beloved brothers and sisters, if hate is bad, and they always tell us, you shouldn't hate. No, that this is not nice, that we should hate, because they know with the evil that they're pouring on us, the natural thing would be not to love them. But we are like a silly woman married to an abusive man. and he's beating you all the time, and silly woman said, but I love you. After a while, people begin to think you're insane. Because if you don't love yourself enough to protect yourself from an abusive man, that's why they have courts, supposedly, and judges, supposedly, that you can go to court and say, Your Honor, I can't take no more, and before I kill him or he kills me, our differences are irreconcilable. I helped him get what he got, so let's divide up what we helped him build. Well, the same today. The judge is asking us, look at the Bible, it says, shall, it raises the question, the lawful captive be delivered? Wow. Then Isaiah says, he shall take the prey from the mighty, and the lawful captive will be delivered. How are you a lawful captive? You're under the law, under that flag, and your hands are bound. You know you're being killed, but the Justice Department will not act on our behalf. They will not intercede to see that those of us who are wronged get justice. So what are we to do? We can't live like this anymore. I was talking to the police chief in St. Louis the other day, and I said, Chief, this thing is coming to the point of explosion. I said, we don't have anything to lose. We are already dead. And our young people don't think they'll live to see 21. So we have nothing to lose. But you, Chief, have everything to lose. Your life, the city, and your country. Have you ever seen the eruption of a volcano that slept for hundreds, even thousands of years, and you've been playing around the volcano without respect for what its potential is, and then one day a roar comes up? It ain't Cecil. It's the black oppressed. It's the brown oppressed. It's the indigenous oppressed. It's the poor white oppressed who do not see the government of America as their government. So since Barack Obama was elected, you have over 1,200 militias in America, armed to the teeth. They're not armed because they want to go out in the field and shoot. They are ready to fight their government. America is in trouble. That's why we're going. We have to get justice. And I have to tell you, it is better sometime to be dead than to live continuously under tyranny. And when we get to that point that death is sweeter, then we will act as a human being should act in defense of our life. Reverend Freddie Haynes, stand your ground. Imagine us, the white policeman that was shot in Memphis just yesterday. I don't know what happened. But suppose the brother saw him coming, saw that uniform. As I told the captain or the chief of police in St. Louis, we see this uniform of yours as the uniform of the enemy. And Brother Malcolm said the police are an occupying army. And we are not there to be served and protected by them. They are there to run a cordon around our community so that the disease of our savagery won't penetrate downtown where the tourists come, so that we won't interfere with the flow of business. This is real. But one day, in the island of Montserrat, in the Caribbean, a sleeping volcano erupted. And when it erupted, first, it's just a roar. Oh, Cecil. Then dust and debris coming up that covers great distances, so high till planes can't fly. Because if that stuff gets in your engine, your plane is coming down. Then comes the fire. Then comes the lava. Then comes the destruction of everything around. Is that America what you want to see? From us, your faithful servant, your loyal servitude slave? Is that what you are hoping for so you can slaughter us? Yes, you can slaughter us. You have the means to do it. But you won't last. I'm here to warn you, America. We are the people of God. God has chosen the foolish things of this world to be his people. And he has come to be our God. And what our beloved pastor, Reverend Dr. Haynes, said, the battle is not ours. The battle is the Lord's. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. So you can look for, if you come with your tanks and you're ready to do it. But when you come with your tanks, know that we are ready to die. But we're not going to die without putting up a fight.
It's, wow.
Now wait just a minute. See, now you got real quiet when I said that. What's wrong with you? When I said that, you should have been on your feet. See, Pastor Haynes said, but you haven't got there yet. You're not shouting yet. You're not ready yet to defend the gift that only God can give. And if you can't and will not fight to protect this gift, and like a sheep led to the slaughter, you offer your lives up on the altar of cowardice. If this is you, then you deserve to die. But if you stand and fight for the life that God gave you, then victory is assured. Some of us will die, but the rest will be free to enjoy life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Awesome. It's almost like a deja vu moment of the processing of what Dr. King was going through, seeing 4 little girls bombed in a church, seeing dogs unleashed on women, having to have men hold a sign making the declaration, I am a man. And out of that pain, writing Strength to Love. One of the most critical things you've said to me since I've had the privilege of walking with you is hearing you say Dr. King didn't die because of his dream. He died because he woke up. And that we really don't understand the effulgence of the development of Dr. King. And part of your drive of going back is your newfound affinity for where the direction of Dr. King was going, that there's a missing integer. After civil rights, there's some civil rights. And we can't forget that he was on his way for the Poor People's Campaign, that there is a financial issue that is at stake that is going to have to be met.
Oh, Brother Jamal, most of our pastors have allowed the historians to make a caricature of the greatness of Dr. King by saying he had a dream. Is that all you know about that man? The last 2 years of his life, he was on an evolutionary journey. He was going up to God and down into the valley of death. Dr. King said, and I quote, the night before he died, the garbage workers were experiencing pain, no justice. Dr. King said, we at that time have $30 billion coming through our hands in 1 year. We are richer than every country on the earth except 9. He said that money represents power. We are poor individually, but collectively, with the money that comes through our hands, we are richer than most of the nations on the earth that have hospitals, schools, agriculture, science, technology with less money. This year, $1.3 trillion is going to come through our hand. And the business community romances us for our consumer dollars, not even 10% of which stays in our community. So Dr. King said, we must redistribute the pain. He said, we must go by the big businesses of these tycoons and tell them, God sent us by here. I like that. God sent us by here to tell you that you're not treating his people right. God said he wants you to treat his people fairly. And if you are not prepared to treat his people fairly, then we have an agenda, and that agenda is to withdraw our dollars from you. So he said tonight in Memphis, go and tell your neighbors, don't buy Coca-Cola. Don't buy seal test milk. Don't buy Wonder Bread. And then there was another bread, and he said, looked over at Jesse, said, Jesse, what's that other bread? And Jesse screamed out, it's Heart's bread. He said, yes, Heart's bread. He said, let's go and take our money out of their banks and put it in our own banks. Ooh.
And this is the night before he died.
The night before he died. That's his mountaintop speech.
Yes.
Now, brothers and sisters, the reason I've fallen more in love with Dr. King, because Dr. King, like you, like me, like Pastor Jamal, like Reverend Holly, like Dr. Haynes, We are all on a journey. We're not yesterday what we are today, and hopefully tomorrow we won't be what we are today. We are evolving. Dr. King died at 39. Malcolm X died at, or was assassinated at 39. I have been blessed to live twice their lifespan. So I have lived to see and to see the growth both of Brother Malcolm and of Dr. King. I see it. Malcolm wasn't a man just saying by any means necessary. You don't reduce him to a slogan. There was a body of knowledge that Malcolm had that made him the most feared spokesperson for our hurt. And did you know that when Brother Malcolm was assassinated, at that time, he was #1 on the ADL's list as the #1 anti-Semite among black people? You didn't know that, did you? Do you know where I am today? I'm #1. But think about this. My Jewish friends are not forgiving when you hurt them. I have done nothing to them except tell the truth, and that's bad enough. So they came to me one day, and we had dinner together. We had a lovely time. And they said, Farrakhan, this is going to be tough love. So after dinner, we went down to have coffee, and the rabbi pulled out a white envelope, and he said, now, Farrakhan, you are looking for friendship from us, but we would have to watch you over a protracted period of time, your words and your deeds, before we would say we're friends. You wrote a book, The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews. That was by our research department. You must denounce that book as a gross calumny against the Jewish people. And he said, you know, anyone that's not considered a friend of the Jewish people is never spoken of well in history. If you do these things, listen to these words. If you do these things, we will clean up your image. Think of those words. I don't control the media. I couldn't come on Word TV as a true lover of Jesus Christ because people didn't know that I believed in Jesus. So they were giving him hell for even inviting me on his show as a great Christian pastor. That's because you hated me before you knew me. You let the media tell you who I am. But if you were alive 2,000 years ago, the media in Rome would have you hating Jesus. Talk to me. They hated Jesus without a cause. And you know, Pastor Jamal, you can make Jesus look bad.
You done sat up now. You
can make Jesus look bad with a 10-second sound bite. Let me show you how it would happen. Jesus was in town last night. The hater. How could any of you go out to hear that man? He's a hater. And he'll quote, he said, you must hate your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, yea, even your own life for my sake, or you are not worthy. Jesus, the hater, is in town. CBS comes on. Jesus, the violent man, was in town tonight. He said, think not that I come to bring peace, nay, a sword. He's divisive. He comes to put the mother-in-law against the daughter-in-law. Jesus is in town tonight.
Talk, sir.
See? Taking his words and twisting them. No man can serve two masters. The hate teachers at it again. You can't serve two masters. You must love one, hate the other. Jesus, the hate teacher. Jesus, the anti-Semite, was in town last night. What? He was in an argument with some Jewish people. And he said to them, I know you. Ooh. They said, we are Abraham's seed. And he said, no, no. If you were Abraham's seed, you would do the works of Abraham. He said, even God is our Father. And Jesus shot back and said, if God were your Father, you would love me. For I proceeded forth and came from God. And now you seek to kill me, a man that has told you the truth. I know you. The anti-Semite was in town last night, and he called us devils. None of you should go near him. None of you should give him any honor. But look, he opened the eyes of the blind. He made the deaf hear, the dumb speak. He raised Lazarus to life. Yeah. He did that, but he did that by the power of the devil. And so now he tells me, if I do everything they say, they will clean up my image because they know they dirtied my image. And so it was my time to speak now. So I said to my rabbis, I said, there's no such thing as your truth and my truth. There's only truth. Your perception and my perception of that truth may be different. And that's why we dialogue to reconcile our perceptions. But there's only truth, not yours, not mine, truth. In the Torah, in Isaiah, he says, justice stands afar off. Equity cannot enter because truth has fallen in the streets. So we began to talk about protracted goodness. I said, you know, I should say that back to you. We need to watch you for a very long time because we have never done to you and your people what you and your people have done to us. Listen. See, this is what makes me hated. It's because I speak truth. And I can back the truth up with truth, and I'll back it up with my life. I offer my life if I'm lying. And those who want me dead, and I've heard Jewish people say, who do you want, Farrakhan? How do you want him dead? I won't let you take my life. I'll give you my life if you can prove me to be a liar. And that you can't do, and that's why you lie on me to turn the people into haters of me, just like you did for Jesus 2,000 years ago. So I said, I will destroy that book tonight because I want nothing false attached to my name. I said, but before I do that, since everyone in that book that we quoted were Jewish scholars, Jewish historians, and Jewish rabbis, you condemn every one of them as liars, and then I'll destroy the book. Never have they said a word like that. No more. Then I said, I want to be your friend. That's why I'm here. But if being your friend means I have to compromise on the truth, then yours is a friendship I don't need, and yours is a friendship I don't want. I said, now you can come against me, you and your influence over the government. I said, but as long as I stand on truth and stand with God, I will be the winner. Now look, wait, just say this. Because as Christians, if you're not hated for his name's sake, you better check out whether you really are. Because every true Christian is hated by the forces that control the government of the United States. This is not a Christian government. If Jesus were here tonight, he would say exactly what I'm saying. And you would be thinking all those negative thoughts. And the book said, and Jesus, knowing their thoughts, he departed and went thus and thus. Brothers and sisters, we're in a great time now that our unity will propel us to victory. Dr. King said you don't need to talk bad, you don't need to shout, you don't need to shoot, you don't need to throw a Molotov cocktail. All we need to do is to come together in unity and use the power of our purchasing to deliver pain, and they will properly respond. So in concluding that, my brother's been so kind. He's allowed me to preach a little. He mentioned the 4 children that were bombed in Birmingham. My research team found words from Dr. King. After that happened, he was so hurt. He wanted all-out war. Not physical, not violent, but to shut down cities. Go out in the highways, don't let nothing move. And the one thing he really wanted to do was boycott Christmas. And he knew that they weren't united enough to make it effective. And I looked at that and I said, oh, Dr. King, I didn't know that that's what he wanted, but that's what I'm asking. That this year, on the day after Thanksgiving, what do they call that?
It's Black Friday.
Black Friday. Well, let black be absent on that Friday. Let black people keep their money in their pocket. Now, Jesus had 12 disciples. One of them was a devil. Santa Claus has 12 reindeers. And Santa has literally kicked Jesus to the curb. What are you going to have for Christmas? What do you want for Christmas? Sweetheart, what would you like? Oh, yeah, see, that's Christmas. The meaning of Christmas to you is not to give of yourself, but to give some token, some material thing. And Santa is saying, ho, ho, ho. And the business people are going to the bank saying, ha, ha, ha. Once again, our bottom line is great for the whole year because you took a lie and put a lie over the truth. You lied to your children and told them that a big fat Caucasian from the North Pole came down a chimney and you were in an apartment and left some goods under the tree. Where did the tree come from? Reverend, go look in Jeremiah, the 10th chapter. It talked about the heathens, how they go in the forest, they cut down a tree, they bring it in, they nail it down, they deck it with silver and gold. Why are you doing this? You're honoring the winter solstice because the 21st day of December is the shortest day of the year, and the sun worshipers thought that their God was leaving them because the days were getting shorter and shorter and shorter. So in worshiping the sun, when Constantine became the Caesar of Rome and then converted to Christianity, he mixed pagan practice into honor and respect for Jesus Christ. So now, instead of worshiping the Son, S-U-N, God, they worship the Son of God, but with all the pagan symbols. So let's burn the Yule log. What has that got to do with Jesus? Let's put a wreath in the window. See, it's representing the sun. When you put those little balls on the tree, they're like the sun. Your candles in the window, you're worshiping the sun. And you've been tricked, as Malcolm said. You've been had, you've been took. You've been bamboozled. And you think you're doing the right thing, but let me show you how you dishonor Jesus. You drink more liquor on Christmas than any other time of the year. Jesus may have turned water into wine, but he never made the people drunk. You're drunkards in Jesus' name.
Good grief.
You're vile and filthy, doing all manner of filth on your Christmas holiday in Jesus' name. You hardly go to church on the 24th to bring in that day in honor of Jesus. My mom used to take me to church on the 24th, and we would have midnight service and then go home to celebrate his life. So what I'm asking all pastors, join, please join us. Let's honor Christ. You know what Christ, Christ Mass. It means a mass of people gathered for the honor and worship of God through Christ. That's what Christmas is. Don't defile it. Don't make mockery of it. Don't make the wicked who don't even believe in Jesus happy by spending your hard-earned dollars with those who hated Jesus. Go home and open your heart. The Jew, Paul said, is not the Jew by the circumcision of the male instrument. The Jew is the Jew by the circumcision of your heart. You see pictures of Jesus with his heart exposed because he had no secrets hidden. He was perfectly pure. And he said, after he gave us the 2 great commandments, he gave us another as he was leaving us. He said, love ye one another, even as I have loved you. And the love of that man is almost incomparable. But to rise to that, that's the ideal, because he went to that cross to suffer and bleed and die to reconcile human beings who lost their way back to the Father. See? You and I got children wandering. We got family crazy. Drug addicts, criminals. Bring them to the table. It's Christmas time. Bring them to the table and make a good meal for them and say a prayer before you eat. And then while they're eating on the beauty of the food, talk to them about the beauty of a man. Talk to them about a man, not the image of the Caucasian, because Jesus was not white. You don't want him anymore?
Thank you. Would you help me salute and celebrate Minister Louis Farrakhan? What an incredible, valuable gift. A few months ago, Baltimore was in the middle of a major uprising because a young man by the name of Freddie Gray died in police custody. And we were able, Minister, to bring the Bloods and the Crips gang together to sign a peace treaty and help us in the street. And we're getting ready to go out into the street, and God summons me in that moment and said, Jamal, you're a hypocrite. I said, God, why am I a hypocrite? He said, the Bloods and the Crips can come together, but the Christians and the Muslims can't. How in the world the gangs can get together and try to, in fact, bring a better city, but people of 2 different faiths can't come together? I paused right where I was before we went out in the street and called Minister Carlos Muhammad, who operates the mosque in Baltimore, and said, we've got to give a unified force. We can't just let the Bloods and Crips go out and the preachers are still divided. And so this coming together is so significant and so meaningful for the entire country, because the world needs to see us stand together, understanding that there's a whole lot that we have to do, a whole lot that we have to accomplish, and a whole lot that we have to achieve. If we can do it in Baltimore, we can do it in Chicago, can do it in Memphis, can do it in Cleveland, can do it in Staten Island. The whole nation needs to see us as one body and one community coming together. And I'm so appreciative that you would come on this network tonight. I want to thank Kevin Adele, the president of the Word Network, making a tremendous leap of faith. Dave Sheffield, thank you so very much Listen, we want everybody to come to Washington, D.C., 10/10/15, justice or else. It's going down. I'm telling you, you don't want to miss history. It's going to happen. I'm going to give you a sneak peek. Minister Farrakhan is going to preach the sermon Martin Luther King was never able to finish. I ain't even going to give you the title of it, but we were able to get the notes of what he left right there on the nightstand of the Lorraine Motel, and he's going to finish that dream in Washington, D.C. It's going to be very critical, very monumental, and you want to be a part of it. I want you to know, in the words of Hezekiah Walker, I pray for you. Please pray for me. I love you. I want to see you survive. I don't want any harm to come to you, but I want to see you live, and I want you to have life more abundantly. Brother A.G. is going to, in fact, talk about really why all of us are standing together, why Black Lives Matter is because we know our worth. And today, I want you, please, every pastor, let's walk together. That's what they said in civil rights. Walk together, children. Don't you get weary. There's going to be a great camp meeting, but we don't have to wait to the promised land. The camp meeting is going to be in Washington, D.C., 10/10/15. It's going to be like no other day America has ever seen before. Thank you, Mr. Farrakhan. Brother A.G., tell us why we're worth it, please. God bless you.
You thought I was worth saving. You came and changed my life.